The Magic Castle.
Houdini's Ghosts.
I'm Jason Horton.
I'm Rebecca Lieb.
And this is Ghost Town.
Welcome back to part 3 of Ghost Town's Halloween special, The Magic Castle. Since opening its doors on January 2nd, 1963, the Magic Castle has been a seamy Hollywood hangout, a magician's mecca, a hotbed for controversy, and a refuge for lovers and practitioners of the lifelong craft of magic the world over. One such practitioner was a young Hungarian immigrant named Eric Weiss, known to most as Harry Houdini, whose legacy is larger than life, and whose presence is still felt at the castle through the seances and lore preserved inside its notorious Houdini room. Welcome back to the Magic Castle, Episode 3, Houdini's Ghosts. Eric Weiss was born on March 24, 1874, to a rabbi, Meyer Samuel Weiss, and his wife, Cecilia, in Budapest, Hungary. Eric's family immigrated to the United States in 1878, settling in Appleton, Wisconsin. By that time, Houdini was one of 7 children, and their family Americanized to assimilate everyone, changing their name to the German spelling of Weiss, W-E-I-S-S, and Eric himself became Erich, E-H-R-I-C-H. After the 15 German Jewish families of Appleton fired Houdini's father from their local synagogue, Rabbi Weiss moved the family to Milwaukee, to a life of dire poverty. Even back then, young Eric proved resourceful and a dramatic presence, a natural athlete who took on odd jobs and helped his father provide for his family. He even made his public debut at 9 years old as a trapeze artist, calling himself Eric the Prince of the Air. In 1887, Rabbi Weiss moved with Eric to New York, where the two lived in a boarding house until Rabbi Weiss found work, at which point the father and son were joined by the rest of the family. In a cold water flat on East 75th Street, at the time a slum, the Weisses found jobs in the garment industry. Cutting the lining of neckties. Eric's father's health quickly declined, and he vowed, like many immigrant children, to never be poor again, and more importantly, that his beloved mother Cecilia would never be sad and never want for anything. According to David Denby in his New Yorker piece, Harry Houdini and the Art of the Escape, quote, like Al Jolson and Irving Berlin, who were also children of Jewish clergymen, he launched into show business as a way out of ghetto jobs like stitching garments and rolling cigars. It was the first of his escapes. Reigniting his childhood interest in performance, in 1891, Eric teamed up with a friend named Jacob Hyman in an act called The Brothers Houdini. This is when Eric's persona started to take shape. After reading the biography of the French magician Jean-Eugène Robert Houdin, he decided to call himself Harry, a play on his family nickname, Airy, and Houdini, of course, after Houdin. When his father passed away a year later, 18-year-old Harry Houdini left his mother and brothers in New York and took to the road. The brothers Houdini performed their, by most accounts, mediocre act in dime museums and small theaters throughout upstate New York and the Midwest. A highlight of their touring was actually performing at the 1893 World's Columbia Exposition in Chicago. In 1894, however, Harry's younger brother Theo replaced Hyman, but not for long. Summer, Harry met a petite 18-year-old Christian Brooklynite named Wilhelmina Beatrice Ronnerand, or Bess, at Coney Island, where she was a part of a song and dance act called the Floral Sisters. Bess was currently being courted by Theo, but she couldn't deny the connection she had with his older, far more talented, and far more charismatic brother. And Harry quickly sealed the deal, marrying Bess on June 22, 1894. Bess and Harry had a bond that would transcend their young selves, their adult successes, and infidelity, tragedy, but not death. Anyhow, I'm getting ahead of myself. For several years, the pair worked as the Houdinis, perfecting a signature trick called the metamorphosis, a trick that is still so prevalent that Jason and I literally saw a version of it performed when we visited the Magic Castle in preparation for this episode. In the metamorphosis illusion, An assistant is locked inside a large box or trunk, often restrained, and the magician almost instantaneously switches places with the assistant as soon as the box is hidden by a curtain. In any case, while the Houdinis were better than the brothers Houdini, they still weren't making a living, struggling greatly to exist and promote their act. They even dabbled in the world of spiritualism, which was big at the time, pretending like they would commune with the other side, or supernatural spirits. This is important to note and will come into play to a different degree later in Houdini's life. Around 1900, Bess pressed him to strike out alone, just as Harry Houdini, with her as his assistant. She thought that in doing this, the act would be cleaner and more marketable. In the end, she was right, the first indicator of which was Houdini's incredible handcuff escape trick, his breakout trick, some would say. For this trick, Houdini would escape from any regulation-sized set of handcuffs at any time, challenging the public to bring him a set of handcuffs that he could not get out of. Here's magician Paul Zenon talking about Houdini's big breakthrough.
Round about 1900, he did his first tour in Europe, and it was kind of at a point where he'd almost given up being a performer due to the lack of success in America. His success kind of hit when he started doing the handcuff challenge act, and it wasn't escapes in general, it was mostly handcuff stuff. And the kind of rule he had is that when people, they could bring their own handcuffs to the stage, but they had to open them and then close them again to make sure they weren't just a trick set that locked shut permanently. And they had to be regulation handcuffs, that was the key. And he'd do all sorts of other stuff, escapes from 100 feet, a rope tied to a chair. He used to do a straitjacket escape. It wasn't until later years that he actually did that hanging upside down. He used to do that rolling around on the stage. But for some reason, it was the handcuff challenge, that really caught the public attention.
After his handcuff act, Houdini retained a manager named Martin Beck, who booked him at the top vaudeville houses in the country. Then he went to Europe, where he gave a famous demonstration of his handcuff escape at the iconic Scotland Yard, baffling the police so effectively that he booked dozens of shows in London for the next 6 months, with immediate success. Houdini had hit the height of his career, solidifying himself as a master escape artist. Here's magic historian Angela Sanchez.
His escape artistry catapulted him into a lot of the public's eye, and it was performing these amazing feats of physical stunts that really, one, also captured the public imagination. For historical context, this is also during the time of folks like President Theodore Roosevelt and Rough Riders, and the idea of like the robust American who goes out into the great outdoors and has a great physique and stuff like that, and the era of strongmen. And so there was a lot of general public interest around, wow, what was he going to get out of this one?
Soon Houdini became one of the world's highest paid entertainers, touring Europe and challenging local police to restrain him in their jails, to which he would immediately escape. In Moscow, Houdini escaped from a Siberian prison transport van. In Cologne, a judge's secret safe, after Houdini had been sued by a police officer who alleged that he had made escapes via bribery, which he did not. Houdini knew exactly what to do with his newly made, insane wealth. He bought a brownstone in Harlem and a farm in Connecticut for his family, and a dress made for Queen Victoria herself for his mother, Cecilia. He then arranged a grand reception where he presented his mother in the dress to all of their relatives. Later, Houdini would say it was the happiest day of his life. After conquering Europe, Houdini returned to America in 1905 to put down roots, living his life as a big paid gig magician who would do what he wanted when he wanted, consistently reinventing himself and his magic, fueled by the love of his mother and his wife Bess. According to a 1996 biography, Houdini did have one secret affair with Jack London's widow named Charmaine, but it was short-lived and superficial. According to David Denby, Houdini was a, quote, driven, restless man in his career, but not in his romantic life. Indeed, it's not clear whether he was sexual at all. His imprisonments and escapes, his purposeful exhibitionism may have been all he needed, the ultimate act of sublimation. Because of cheap imitators, Houdini retired his handcuff act in 1908 and began escaping from a locked, water-filled milk can, which became another legendary trick, the milk can escape. Houdini continued to free himself from jails, chains, ropes, and straitjackets, often while hanging upside down in public. Houdini also expanded his repertoire by challenging the public to devise outlandish contraptions to hold him, including mailbags, packing crates, and even the belly of a whale that had washed up ashore in Boston. Here's magician Paul Zenon again.
He used to do a milk churn challenge where he was padlocked inside an old-fashioned big metal milk churn, full of milk, obviously, and a local brewery once challenged him to escape from that, filled with beer. Now, Houdini was teetotal, and that's one challenge he almost didn't make because he went under with the vapours, but apparently his crew had a great time drinking what was spilt that night, you know?
Interestingly enough, many of these challenges were arranged with local merchants in one of the first uses of a mass tie-in, or sponsored marketing. Also, rather than promote the idea that he was assisted by spirits, as many spiritualist-adjacent magicians did at the time, Houdini's advertisements showed him using the art of teleporting, suggesting this, or at that time called dematerializing. Though to be fair, Houdini himself never claimed to have supernatural powers, and hated those who did. It was all just a part of the act, the fabrication, the allure and the mystery. In 1913, a heartbreaking new phase of Houdini's life would challenge the very nature of his philosophy and selfhood. His beloved mother Cecilia passed away. We'll talk about the immense fallout of her death and the beginning of Houdini's obsession with spiritualists after this break.
Hi, hello, how are you doing?
Hello.
We're checking in.
Here we are. Here you are.
Yeah.
Here we are. Here you are.
And least importantly, here we are.
That's right.
We want to say hello to anyone who's listening, supporting, spreading the good word of Ghost Town. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And our government.
Mm-hmm.
We got some mayors.
Mm-hmm.
They are former magicians.
Oh, are they?
Yes.
Wow.
However, they didn't get the memo on having a unique, interesting name. They just kind of rushed.
They were like, we got to get the magic out there. I
Yeah.
don't have time to crowdsource my marketing persona materials, my brand per se. So let's just do it. Pull the trigger. Got it.
This first mayor went by Magic Person.
Whoa. Spooky.
They were just like, it's magic. I'm a
They're like,
person.
I check all the boxes.
Yeah.
Let's
That's
just be real.
That's going to be good enough. People were like, that's not really, we're not
They're like,
really being razzle-dazzled.
huh?
Well, you could thank Ashley Matson for that one.
Hello.
This magician went by Can't Miss Chris.
Ooh.
Can't miss because you can't miss him when he performs.
Mm-hmm.
And also can't miss, like, the magic always goes well. And they were like, well, which is
Yeah.
it?
And why?
And we can miss. Like, if I can't get a babysitter, we can miss.
Yeah. I mean, the words are onomatopoeic, and that's nice for him.
Yeah.
But I got things to do with my life.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's the name of magician Chris Hernandez.
Hello.
This magician just went by the other one. They're like,
the other one of what?
yeah. Also, there's more than one magician. She's like, well,
Yeah.
I'm not that one. I'm just the other one.
It's like who's on first style
Yeah.
confusion.
Did not help on the flyers
Mhm.
and
That's bad.
promotions.
Very bad.
It's Mercer Rothermel.
Hello.
This magician just went by MCL. And they're like, magic can linger?
Are you a small startup? Can I get a fleece?
Yeah.
And a water bottle from
And they're
you?
like, oh,
MCL
no.
Energies?
Yeah. They're like, oh, I didn't think that one out.
Uh,
It's just the initials of Matthew Clemens LeRae.
hello.
This magician just went by the Weber Experience. And they're like, what's a
Like Weber Grill? they're like the wetter experience?
it's like a web. What's a Weber?
Weber.
Is it like, oh, is that part of your thing where you're like, it's like a spider web?
Web?
And they're like,
Ooh.
nope,
They're like, no,
don't do
that's
anything
just
like that at
my
all.
name. Hi.
That would be magician and mayor Casey Weber.
Hello.
This mayor didn't have time when they were filling out the thing. They were just like, I got to get those tricks out there. The magic magician name is just whatever, dude.
Whatever, dude.
It's just like, whatever, man. Like,
Nothing
I don't.
inspires
Yeah,
wonder.
come on.
Like,
They're just like,
whatever.
you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
You don't need no
Rabbit, the
fancy.
hat, the
Come on.
thing.
Blah,
Okay,
blah, blah,
okay,
blah.
let's all slow march towards death.
It did not help business.
Mm-hmm.
They'd be killing me. And
Hello.
this magician just went by Cats. And they were like, the musical or
Yeah.
the movie?
The deli?
The movie, the deli, the animal, the movie of the
Yeah.
musical.
Who
a lot
are
of these
you?
a lot of these things are not like, I don't know what I'm getting
Yeah.
from you.
I have money to give to you, but I'm confused.
What to do. And they
Mhm.
were just like, I did not think it through.
Hmm.
But that would be the magic stylings of Cat Giselle.
Hello.
And then our governor.
Mm.
One of her greatest tricks. You know how magicians make the Statue of Liberty disappear?
Yeah.
our governor makes private jets appear. But
mind freak.
Yeah.
She really mind freaks.
And it's just like, and the magic is just like, you just have to take a limo to the hangar. Like, it's not that tricky. Like, I don't know why people are not getting it. And no one's saying like, oh, what's the seat? She's like, yeah, I just get in a limousine and I just have a driver take me right up to the stairs.
I can't be bothered with your theories about how I do this.
Well, that's the magic stylings of our governor, who just goes by her own name, which is Avian Noble. If you want no ads, no chit-chat, bonus episodes, just the good stuff, 7 days free, head on over to patreon.com/ghosttownpod.
Let's get back to the magic. When word of Houdini's mother's death reached him in Sweden in 1913, he reportedly fainted, then wept uncontrollably when he came to. He would grieve for his mother the rest of his life, and a lot of his grief was funneled into the spiritualist movement, a suggestion that would often come his way to help him ease the grief of Cecilia's death. In 1919, Houdini moved to Los Angeles to get in on the burgeoning film industry, residing at 2435 Laurel Canyon Boulevard, a house of his friend and business associate Ralph M. Walker, who owned both sides of the street. Houdini would practice underwater tricks in the pool of Walker's neighboring home at 2400 Laurel Canyon Boulevard. This residence is now known as the Houdini Estate, named in the honor of Houdini's time there, the same estate where Bess Houdini threw a party for 500 magicians years after his death. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The 1920s brought out a different preoccupation of Houdini's, the debunking of psychics and mediums. Houdini felt they were the vilest of the vile, taking advantage of the bereaved, the vulnerable, and because he was so good at tricks himself, he tasked himself to reveal any and all fraudulent activity publicly and aggressively, often attending seances in disguise, accompanied by a reporter and a police officer for proof and potential legal ramifications of the fraud that he would witness. Houdini was also a member of another effort to debunk spiritualist fraud, the Scientific American Committee of the magazine Scientific American fame. This group offered a cash prize of $2,500, about $40,000 today, to any medium who could successfully demonstrate supernatural abilities. He was, as also a note, an active Freemason, which we'll get into a different day. The first psychic to be tested was medium George Valentin of Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. In the test, Valentin made a trumpet move in a dark seance room. However, an electrical connection had been rigged to his chair, which was connected to a light in an adjoining room, which revealed that all the trumpet activity coincided with when he left his chair. Psychical researcher Harry Price described the test seance. Quote, "At the final sitting, in complete darkness, the special apparatus was installed. This was an electrical circuit which included the chair on which the medium sat. When the medium rose from his seat, a light went out in an adjoining room. Dictaphone notes were taken of all that occurred. It was found that Valentin left his chair 15 times when he should have been in it, sometimes for as long as 18 seconds, and that these periods corresponded with those when the sitters were touched by the, quote, spirits. Many would attempt the same feat as Valentin, but of course none were able to do so, and the prize was never collected. As Houdini's fame as a medium buster grew, he chronicled his debunking exploits in a book called A Magician Among the Spirits, where he talked about how his pursuits strained his friendship with famed author Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, a huge believer in spirits and connecting to the spirit world. In fact, in a crazy twist, Doyle came to believe that Houdini was a powerful spiritualist medium himself, performing many of his stunts by means of his own paranormal abilities, and using his spiritual skill set to block the powers of the mediums that he was supposedly debunking. The two men became public antagonists of one another, thinking the other was a dangerous enemy of the other's belief system, which of course was accurate. Before Houdini died, he had a long talk with Bess about what would happen if what Doyle said may have some or any truth to it. Ever the curious couple, Bess and Harry agreed that if Houdini found it possible to communicate after death, he would communicate the message, quote, Rosabelle, answer, tell, pray, answer, look, tell, answer, answer, tell. A secret code phrase both would know, as it had great significance to them. Rosabelle was the name of the song Bess sang in her act when the two first met, and was essentially their song, The word was also inscribed inside Bess's wedding band. The other words corresponded to elements of the secret spelling code they had devised to pass information during a mentalism act, with suitable pauses between cues. Each word or word pair equals a letter. A or 1 was represented by pray, B, 2 by answer, C, 3 by say, D by now, E by tell, F by please, G by speak, H by quickly, I by look, and J, number 10 or 0 in combination, by be quick. So the word answer on its own indicated B, while, if you're following me, the 22nd letter of the alphabet, V, was represented by answer. Hence, again, if you're following, the Houdini's secret phrase spelled out the word believe. Romantic and spooky. In 1926, Harry Houdini hired his pals H.P. Lovecraft and C.M. Eddy Jr. to write an entire book about debunking religious miracles, which was to be called The Cancer of Superstition. Houdini had earlier asked Lovecraft to write an article about astrology, for which he paid $75, equivalent to about $1,200 today, and which he very much liked. Though the article does not survive, Lovecraft's detailed synopsis for the book does, as do 3 chapters of a treatise written by Eddy. But something would derail the plans for the publication of The Cancer of Superstition: Houdini's own death. At that point, Houdini had reached a different career milestone with his 2.5-hour one-man show called, appropriately, Houdini. The show featured a review that went back to his old dime museum days: escapes, illusions, and of course, a spiritualist expose. The show was such a success, he took it on the road, and on October 22nd, 1926, before his Montreal show, Houdini was assaulted by a young man named Jocelyn Whitehead, who asked Houdini, quote, if he believed in the miracles of the Bible, and, quote, whether it was true that punches in the stomach did not hurt him. Houdini offered a casual reply that his stomach could endure a lot, and Whitehead began punching. Houdini was actually laying on the couch at the time of the assault, which makes it even worse, as he had actually broken his ankle several days before. After this event, Houdini became seriously ill, but refused to cancel his show the next day and the next day again in Detroit. After, he was rushed to the doctors when, on October 25th, the hospital realized that the punches had aggravated a severe case of appendicitis. His appendix was removed that day, but the delay in care had allowed an infection to set in, and Houdini died, perhaps ironically, in Detroit on October 31st, 1926. Houdini's funeral was held on November 4th in New York, with more than 2,000 mourners in attendance. Bess moved to Inwood, Manhattan, where she opened her own tea house and briefly performed her own vaudeville act. True to her word, every year on Halloween, Bess would attempt to contact Harry with their secret code: Rosabelle, answer, tell, pray, answer, look, tell, answer, tell. In the 1930s, she moved to Hollywood, California, and worked to promote Houdini's memory. On Halloween 1936, Bess conducted a final Houdini seance on the roof of the Knickerbocker Hotel in Hollywood. Again, if you want to learn more about that specific event, more than we say here, we have a great episode on it, if I do say so myself. Check it out. It is episode 14 of Ghost Town, the Knickerbocker Hotel. But we'll give you a little taste of what it was like, setting the scene. According to a record of the seance by Mark Dimination, chief of the Rare Book and Special Collections Division of the Library of Congress, quote, the bright, clear, cold evening of Halloween, 1936, atop the roof of Hollywood's high-profile Knickerbocker Hotel. There, the lights of Los Angeles glittered in the distance. Here, at 8 p.m., a dimly lit seance. Atop a table in the center of the attraction lay a pair of locked handcuffs on a silk pillow, a trumpet, a tambourine. Nearby, an invitation-only audience of 300 was crammed into a set of bleachers, waiting to see if the dead might come to life. Thankfully for us, a recording of the seance exists online, and it really sets the tone.
O thou disembodied spirits, those of you that have grown old in the mysterious laws of spirit land, we greet thee.
That's the voice of Edward Saint, the seance's moderator.
We have gathered here at the appointed time. We have complied with all the requirements to enable all of you to make your presence known. Members of the spirit world have long known of the intention of this important gathering tonight. All is in readiness. Please now, the time is at hand. Make yourself known to us.
After the invocation, he straight up asks for Houdini himself.
Are you here, Houdini? Please manifest yourself in any way possible. Take from this earnest gathering any strength that may be necessary for you to use. Take any vital thing from us that you may need to enable you to carry out your promise of years ago. We have waited, Houdini, oh, so long. Never have you been able to present the evidence you promised. And now, this is a night of nights. The world is listening. Harry, your world, your audience. And Bessie is here. Your Bessie, who was part of you for 33 years. She's here, Harry, pleading in her heart for a prearranged sign from you.
But on the cold rooftop of the Knickerbocker Hotel, Bess didn't get a sign from her beloved. No intimate words, no coded phrases. She did not connect with Houdini that night and had decided that that was enough, that if she didn't connect after that long, she had to move on with her life. At the conclusion of the failed seance, next to a photograph of Houdini, she put out the candle that had supposedly burned for 10 years. In 1943, Bess would reflect, quote, 10 years was long enough to wait for any man. After the 1936 seance, friend, confidant, and publicist Walter B. Gibson carried on the yearly seance tribute at New York's Magic Townhouse. Before he died, Gibson passed on the tradition to magician Dorothy Dietrich. Bess Houdini died from a heart attack on February 11, 1943, while in Needles, California, aboard an eastbound train traveling from Los Angeles to New York City. She was 67 years old. With Bess gone, the tradition of holding a seance for Houdini became even stronger, held together by magicians throughout the world to commemorate the man and his legend. According to David Denby in his New Yorker piece, Houdini's legacy is alive and well. Quote, there are daredevils who scale the Eiffel Tower, or leap across the Great Wall of China on a skateboard, or plunge over Niagara Falls in a barrel, but they don't provoke endless interpretation years after their exploits. Most movie stuntmen retire into knobby oblivion. Houdini's strangeness and ambition, the nakedness, the liberationist triumphs, still fascinate us. Just years after Bess's death, an official Houdini seance was organized by Sidney Hollis Radner, a Houdini aficionado from Holyoke, Massachusetts. Yearly Houdini seances are also conducted in Chicago, Scranton, New York, and at the Magic Castle in Los Angeles, California, which continues to this day in their famed Houdini seance room, off the dining area on the second floor. There you can attend a private seance led by magician Misty Lee among some incredible artifacts of Houdini's life. We saw them with our own eyes. His wand, a milk jug he escaped from, a trunk, handcuffs, a gramophone given to him, allegedly, by Thomas Edison, and so much more. These seances are not cheap, but they are memorable and highly confidential, going for hours into the evening to see, as always, if someone can, in some way, connect with the famed magician. The space dedicated to Houdini in the Magic Castle is another mysterious piece to this incredible puzzle that is the Magic Castle itself, whose history continues to fascinate and awe. If you go, please say hello to Archimedes, Irma, and the many incredible magicians who call the Magic Castle their own. Speaking of magicians, it only feels appropriate that we conclude this series with some closing words from the founding mother of the Magic Castle, Miss Jerry Larson. Thank you so much for listening, and have a wonderful, dare I say, magical Halloween.
The chimes, Volko. It's time to go back to Magic Land. Now, boys and girls, be good and kind. Keep smiling and cheerful and bright as can be. And I'll come back another time with the mightiest magic you ever did see.
Angela Sanchez is a magician, magic historian, writer, and cartoonist whose senior thesis, Conjuring the Modern Woman, Women and Their Representation in the Golden Age of Magic, was used heavily in the research of the series. You can find her thesis, writing, show dates, and more at AngelaMSanchez.com. If you're in or around Chicago, catch Angela presenting a lecture on magicians of color in magic history at the Chicago Magic Lounge on Sunday, January 26th.
Keith Selter-Janes is a magician, improviser, teacher, and member of the Magic Castle.
Lindsay Benner is a variety performer who can be seen all over the globe, including Vegas's Super Freako, at the Cosmopolitan Las Vegas, and the Magic Castle. For more about Lindsay, check out her website at lindsaybenner.com or her Instagram at lindsaybenner. Derek Ostavani is an award-winning mentalist and magician. He's toured all over the country, including the Chicago Magic Lounge, and of course, the Magic Castle. To book or reach out to Derek for an appearance, show, or interview, you can go to his website, magicwithderek.com.